Sorry y'all, I've been MIA this morning. My parents are coming into town, so I have been deep cleaning my house. But I absolutely love this question. So I do not like hybrids or crossbreeds of any of my meat breeds. And that is from experience and also as well as just my personal opinion. So as y'all know, I have a multitude of different breeds of meat rabbit. And to be honest, it would just take up space from my pure breeds to cross them for little to no value. And I'm not just talking value of sales, I'm talking about value of size and grow out. Because when you do a hybrid or a crossbreed, and in this instance an F1, meaning I would take, let's say, a Californian and a silver fox, and breed them together for the next generation, it's not a for sure of what I would get. Am I going to get the grow out of the Californian, or am I going to get the grow out of the silver fox? Because my Californians are specific commercial meat breeds, meaning that they grow out the fastest of all of my meat breeds. And they have grown out faster than any hybrids I've ever had, with more meat to bone in a ratio. And sometimes they'll grow out as well as Californians, and sometimes they'll grow out as bad as my Rex. So it's just safer, money-wise, time-wise, all-around-wise, for me just to breed my Californians for meat. But I also have a limited space in which I'm not willing to take up to experiment with hybrids. I would rather experiment with my own pure breed lines. But if you are just breeding for meat and you do not have access to pure breeds and you just want to do a meat mutt program, there's nothing wrong with that. It just might take some time, some breeding, and some heavy culling to decide what to breed together to get the best grow outs possible. So if you are looking at handling rabbits, there's a couple of ways you can do it. But if you're trying to get them out of the cage, this is how I prefer to do it. Hello, baby girl. And I feel like this is a really good angle, is you get your bun, you pick them up around the midsection, and you bring them to chest. And you can either carry them around the barn like this, but if they're squirmy like Miss Lizzie is, tuck them under your arm like so. You have a free hand to do what you need to do. The rabbit's eyes are covered, and you have that extra hand to move around like you need. As you can see, this is a very difficult bun to carry around. I love her dearly, but she is hard to handle at times. Now, this method works for animals if they are 2 pounds or if they are 12 pounds. This is actually how I prefer to carry my rabbits around, the larger they are. And it's just very easy to deal with them. And then if you want to put them in your cage, it's just like that. Really easy up-down motion, and you don't have to worry about getting scratched up, which is why you will see a lot of judges having arm-length jackets on it. So if you have a rabbit that you don't know that's hard to handle, you don't have to worry about your wrists getting dug up. Now, when it comes to other things such as checking feet or nails, grab this baby. This little girl is 3. You're just going to take them. You can use your hand, support the neck, flip them over, little blow on the face, and you can flip them around so you can trim nails, you can check genitals, everything you need to do. As you can see, I'm still supporting her weight. If I was sitting down, laying down, I'll use my knee right now. You can lay them like this, clip, 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 good, good, good. As you can see, I have support on the back. I am not holding her by the scruff. I am not holding her by the ears. I am simply supporting her head. Just in case she does flip over, I have complete and utter contact and control over the rabbit so she doesn't hurt herself and twist around. When I am done doing what I need to do, I simply support the back and flip back into my chest. I can carry her around like this, or again, I can flip her under the arm like so, covering the eyes, keeping her calm, walking away. So that's my preference on holding, carrying, and handling rabbits. It's the least amount of stress for them. I have other ways to deal with troublemakers, but I don't have any troublemakers to that extreme in the barn. But that is how I prefer to do handling, both walking around and flipping over. If y'all have seen what is going on with my TikTok, I again got reported for being under 13 at the good old age of 25. And then I also have a graphic content warning against one of my tanning videos. So I appealed to that because tanning pelts, in my opinion, is not graphic, and it's a useful skill that should be learned and used. If we are butchering out our rabbits, it should be that we use all the parts possible. And I don't know if it's my face or what, but if it continues to go down this way, I will be removing all of my pelt videos. And then also, y'all aren't going to be able to see my face. You're going to have to stare at Miss Dallas judging you. But in all seriousness, if it does continue, I'll just remove my face from videos, and when I do have talking points, I'll just use backdrops of the rabbits. So yeah, wish me luck on this appeal. At least this time, after I provided proof that I was 25 in the form of my driver's license, which should have been on file already, it only took them 4 days to restore my account instead of over a month. If you were just on my live, I was just talking about how I had a couple really nice rabbits in my litters that I keep talking about getting out of like casters and broken casters, and when I say I'm going to get out of something, all of a sudden I have like these really great little rabbits that I just don't really want to get rid of, like this little broken caster doe. She is absolutely gorgeous. Her depth is amazing, her height is amazing. She's very round with a nice hindquarter. I don't want to do casters anymore because I don't have enough space in my barn, and I keep telling myself I'm going to get out of mini Rex, or I'm going to move past having so many mini Rex. And then I get something like this where she is just absolutely gorgeous. She has an amazing rufous. My biggest problem was I was getting a lot of high rufous animals even though I was breeding blacks into my lines. And now I'm finally starting to get these animals with amazing coloring and like amazing type. And it's like, oh, never mind, maybe I do want to keep this. But also, like, I've been trying to look for potential breeders to sell to, and I keep getting at people who are like, oh, do you sell pets? And it's like, no, sorry, I don't sell pets. I just sell for show purposes. And, you know, it's a little frustrating because you get a gorgeous little animal. And note that this little girl right here is only about 9-10 weeks old. So even at her size, she just looks absolutely stunning. And I'm getting rid of Sadie because of her rufous, and now I have this amazing girl, and it's like, well, do I actually want to get out of casters, or do I want to stay in casters? But all of this to say, I was about to complain about this on live, and it was alive until my phone died, and my phone died. But I have it plugged in the house, so I just thought I would show you this gorgeous, gorgeous girl. So, yeah. If you have a animal that doesn't like being picked up and is biting you, I would first figure out why they're biting you. Is it a territorial thing? Are they looking for food? Are they pregnant and just having hormonal mood swings? Do they have babies? Try to figure out why they're biting you. The reason why you see this doe right now is this is my meanest doe in my barn. Belle has bit me on numerous occasions. She has scratched me. She has lunged at me. Don't let this cute little act fool you. I don't know why she's in such a good mood this morning, because normally I'm being bit by now. And if Belle were any other breed in this barn, I would have gotten rid of her or eaten her a very long time ago, but she is my only Champagne des Argent doe. So if you go over everything and your animal's not sick, they're not in pain, and they're just biting you when you're picking them up, there's a couple of things you can do. For one, extra handling is going to get them more used to you picking them up and moving them and make them less reactive. I also, if I have a difficult doe who is very hard to handle, after every time I mess with her, I'm going to give her treats. Belle's favorite treats in the universe are rolled oats. So after I am done sitting here and loving up on her, she is going to get some rolled oats. I am still flabbergasted I have not been bit yet this morning. Another thing, if you're messing with a difficult animal, I always suggest long sleeves, both for the biting and the scratching. If I am messing with one of my does that are a real jerk, I don't like wearing short sleeves, or else I will get really scratched up bad. I made the mistake also of wearing shorts into the barn, and my legs look like a mess. So I'm going to show you the way I pick up a difficult doe to kind of limit biting. So this is Belle again. If I want to pick her up and get her out of the cage, I'm going to pick her up by the rib cage, bring her out, and immediately tuck her into my arm like so. As you can see, at no time did I give her access to anything she could bite. My fingers are back towards her back end, and even when I picked her up, I had my elbow out a little bit so she couldn't grab onto it until I did get her in the safe spot that is my side. So that's how I prefer to mess with the difficult animals. But if you have the capability and you have an animal that is aggressive when you're getting them out of their cage, I don't advise keeping them. And I know that sounds hypocritical of me because I do have a difficult doe, but a lot of times it isn't worth it. But in your case, if you just have a nippy animal that is like just gnawing at you as you're bringing them out, it can be fixed and worked on. And as promised, Miss Belle gets a nice little serving of rolled oats to gnaw on. In most arguments, this comment is 100% correct in that sore hocks are a genetic fault. But what can also cause sore hocks is improper flooring on a cage. So if you have them on a solid bottom that has a lot of access to be wet or have fecal matter in it, it can cause urine scalds and cause the foot area to become more sensitive, causing it to rub on the surface and cause sore hocks. We also see this with improper wire. So if you see wire that is more like hardware cloth or doesn't have appropriate rests on hardware cloth. But when speaking on a wire bottom that is 14 to 16 gauge with proper spacing like this, we don't have a problem. And the reason why I'm pointing the camera at Hawk is because Hawk is an excellent example as to what proper wire can do. And if y'all are squeamish, I have a picture coming up that you may not want to look at. When we first got Hawk, this is what the bottoms of her feet looked like. And to be honest, this is not an extreme case of sore hocks, but it is still pretty serious. So we immediately put her on a wire bottom cage with a rest, and we started taking care of her feet. I disinfected them daily before putting on bag balm on the bottoms. This is the bottom of Hawk's feet now. This foot, for the most part, has completely healed. We do have a little bit of hair missing in that bottom right corner. And this is her left foot. As you can see, she does have a bit of a dry spot and hair missing on the very bottom where it was really bad. And we are still treating this with bag balm. Our hope is that one day we can get the hair to fully, completely fill in and grow back. But in this instance, the sore hocks were caused by a solid bottom that wasn't properly cleaned. And wire flooring has almost completely fixed it with a little bit of extra holistic care. But if we're talking about genetic issues with hawks, you can actually tell on kits whether or not they're going to have a good foot covering and whether you should or shouldn't keep them in your program if it's something you're working on. So this little broken baby is about a week old, and this is what you want to avoid when it comes to fur coverings on your kits. As you can see, there's very little to no hair cover on the toes, and they have this little triangle of skin showing through on the bottom of the foot. Compared to this baby, same age, same litter, that has a lot of fur covering on the toes and doesn't have the triangle on the bottom of the foot. And I'm sorry, I do not have any more light-colored babies. But heavy fur covering over the feet is a genetic trait that you should be trying to get and should be called for. It is move-in day for our young quail. These guys are about 7-8 weeks old, and it's time for them to go into the adult pens. So what I'll do in order to adjust them to the adult pens is I will get this cage cleaned out so that its smells are all messed up. So all the smells of all the other birds just smell like pine shavings. Then I'll put in a nice big bowl of food and I'll put the babies in. Then I will slowly start putting the adults in with them. They'll get distracted by the food. All of the scents will get mixed up as everyone's running around. And I can keep an eye on these two while I clean the pens here on the bottom. And what I prefer to do first is to throw our males into the coop, so our roosters, to kind of, if need be, separate out the hens as needed. And I do know who my roosters are because they have different bands compared to the females. But one of the most important things when it comes to putting in new birds is making sure that our male to female ratio is appropriate. My preferred male to female ratio is 1 rooster per 5 hens, and making sure that the birds have about 1 square foot of space per bird, and that kind of eliminates squabbling between the females and the females getting worn out by roosters. But we'll keep an eye on these lovely babies and see how they are fitting into the flock. When it comes to feed and my rabbits, their diet mainly consists of pellets. This is my favorite kind of pellet to use. Unfortunately, a lot of times we only have that in the feed store. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll mix the two about 50-50. I like the formula of the Mana Pro better, but Producer's Pride is sometimes all we get because of supply chain issues. When it comes to pellets, I start off with a 1/4 cup per pound of body weight. At this rate, this allows our grow outs to grow out without any problem, and it also allows me to kind of get an idea of whether an animal should get more or less to my standard depending on if they are maintaining weight as an adult or gaining and losing. When we weigh monthly, we adjust their feed accordingly by personal rabbit. So for instance, these little chin babies get about a 1/2 cup of feed in the morning and at night. And that allows them to gain weight at an appropriate rate while also not wasting an excess amount of feed or worrying about them losing weight. In comparison to Strawberry that gets 1/8 of a cup 2 times a day because he gains weight rather rapidly. But most of my mini Rex get a 1/4 cup of food 2 times a day. Now my nursing moms get about double what they would normally get. So in the case of Solstice, who is a mini Rex, she gets a 1/2 cup of feed 2 times a day to help keep condition and help her to produce milk for her babies. Also, with my nursing does, I really like to give rolled oats. It's just a little extra fat content for them when they are nursing. I normally do about a tablespoon 2 times a day. These are also my favorite treats to give in the rabbitry. I also use these if I'm having trouble getting condition in a rabbit, as it's a boost of fat. Nana says hi. I always also get asked about hay. Hay is not necessary, especially since the very first thing in our pellets is hay. And we do use a complete pellet, so this is like extra. This is enrichment for the buns. We give alfalfa hay every once in a while, about every 2 to 3 days, as it gives them something to do and chew on. With that being said, we have to be very careful when giving hay because it can throw off their nutrient balance, meaning they're not eating the pellets they're supposed to eat and they can get deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. Or I had a bun that would only eat hay and they rapidly dropped condition. I have other supplements I use, but this is just kind of the basics. And I prefer to keep things as simple as possible.